been hit really, really hard. It's just been horrible.
Pretty much headline stories is always what's going on around the world, obviously what's happening locally, but around the world. So New York has been front and center here on Australian media. I've seen, just the startling images, the bodies coming out of hospitals, the people queuing up to get into hospitals. The streets just look like it's post-apocalyptic. It's just incredible. Now it's sort of shifted to Brazil, reached peaks over there. Italy, Spain have all been through it. Luckily for Australia, we're sort of removed and we're away. It's sort of like, well, we're a large island out in the middle of nowhere. Yes, we were impacted, but nowhere near the scale of what's happening around the world. Hoping that this can pass soon, because it's quite scary actually to think that this is what can happen. When there's a pandemic, I think people shifted into gear and they went into panic mode. This has repercussions for everyone, and no matter who you speak to.
What we've been saying here as well is like a movie, an apocalypse, just unreal, really unreal. This just goes on and on and on. Like, is there any end in sight?
Will have to be somewhere, but you just wonder when, because you're hearing of small clusters and small outbreaks, places that you wouldn't expect. We had a cluster outbreak in a local meat factory, which is only 10 minutes down the road from my house. We started off with like 4 cases and then 6, and then suddenly that went to 30 and then 50 and then 80. Now it's at about 106 cases just in that meat factory. It's incredible. Local McDonald's, just 10 minutes in the other direction, down to have a couple of staff members and then a few more tested positive. And then another McDonald's just further down the road, a delivery driver was the one that was spreading it. So it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary stuff. In about a week's time, 1st of June, apparently, is when things are going to lift and ease a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So we've gone from no visitors in homes to 5 visitors in homes. Now we can have 10 visitors in homes, and then they're going to open up parks and skateboard parks and other recreational reserves and other little community facilities as well. So I think we're coming back to some sort of normality. Victoria's taking a really cautious approach. I don't know exactly how many cases we've had altogether. I think it's thousands, couple of thousand. Than the rest of the states around Australia, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia have all just sort of flung their doors open and have just, allowed things to go back to normal. Tennis, all the sporting recreation reserves are also closed. The radio station decided to close its doors and allow presenters to broadcast from home if they felt like they wanted to. So some of the presenters were still putting together content to go to air at other times. And other than that, the studios were closed. So we return when our premier says that it's safe to do so. So people are still working from home. Whereas I've been working in the front line, that's my day job. So I work for the NDIS, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And we support people living with disabilities. So I work with a team of therapists, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and speech therapy. Our job to go out into the community and provide those services and supports those participants living with a disability. And one of the biggest things for us is keeping those people out of hospital, because, as you know, hospitals are the worst of all this COVID-19 in, around March and early April, when we were, struck with everything being closed down. We weren't sure whether we were even going to be going to do therapy face-to-face with participants, and we had to do therapy via Zoom. And we're still offering that. Telehealth has just taken therapy to a whole new level. The big things for us here is the Aussie Rules football, Gillian. I've been missing my football. I know you've seen a lot of my posts on social media, and not being able to go to the MCG in the city and not watching my beloved Melbourne Football Club play footy has been a bit hard. But I'm hopeful that they can come back and slowly get some crowds to those games.
So many musicians are doing their sessions online and hosting live streaming and even concerts. So, tell me what it's like for you to do some of these interviews and get involved in seeing what they've been up to, during such a trying time.
Having a change in circumstances actually created some opportunities for me. So just seeing what other people are doing out there, artists have made themselves a lot more available to press and media and radio stations as well. It was a really good opportunity for me to then say, okay, what can I do to keep my hand in the industry? What else can I do to support these artists? Obviously, they have more time on their hands, but also there are a lot of artists who have suffered because of COVID-19. They've cancelled shows, they've lost ticket sales, they've released music that, potentially didn't, sort of get to the peak where they wanted it to be. It seemed that Instagram live was sort of where people were having live conversations, live performances, just interaction. So I thought I'd try my hand at doing that, and it's been quite fun, actually.
Unfortunately, it turned out that the world is dealing with all of this, but it's almost like, this whole idea of everybody saying we're in this together. It's really helped people come out of their shell, and a lot of people are kind of reinventing themselves during this whole thing. And I feel like people are connecting more.
Much all the artists and the guests I've had on the Instagram live, or even if I'm just having general email conversations with people, like organizing interviews or just talking to them about potential interviews in the future, it's actually connected us on a different level. They're on the same train. And I think it's brought the music community and the entertainment industries sort of cross population, because there's people doing interviews with, actors and actresses rather than, only just music. So it really has connected the industry. Hopefully it's made those connections a lot stronger and has opened the doors. It's great to see, because we've got all this technology at our fingertips. Shame for it to go to waste, so we might as well make good use of it while we have the time.
A lot of the people that you interview, Kylie's a big one, but I mean, are these a lot of independent artists or people who are undiscovered? Tell me the kind of artists that come through your studio usually.
Quite a mixture of artists that come through, and as far as interactions go, I get a lot of emails from publicists and media representatives from around the world. And surprisingly, I get quite a lot from the US and a lot from New York.
Really?
I do, and it's actually great to see. Other than the local content, most of it is local Australian artists, and that's predominantly what I enjoy doing, is supporting local talent, local artists, and also giving them the platform to showcase their work. At the same time, I think it's important for artists overseas to showcase their work to other countries. So I'd be speaking to an artist or a group from New York, and they've had no traction whatsoever in Australia, and they have no idea how their email reached my inbox, but it did. Work with them and just get them heard. Like it's just what I love to do. They're in an industry that's bleeding at the moment, so it's great to just do whatever I can to support the artists, no matter where they are in the world.
How hard is it for somebody new to get heard a little, really like blowing up?
A lot of it's from artists I've actually have had the pleasure of chatting to or doing interviews with in the past. So obviously they get preference, so I can just keep in touch, see what they've been working on. Solo artist from the middle of nowhere in Europe who's flicked me an email which has landed in my junk or my spam folder. And I've looked at the cover artwork, and I think that's a pretty cool artwork. And I just have a little quick read of the blurb, and it might say, I don't know, 80s pop or indie folk or electronic or dance. I think, okay, that's music I dig. So I just push play, and then that's where you make your decision. No, not my thing. Delete. Or this is so good, I'm going to send a reply back. You introduce yourself, you thank them for sharing the music, and then you just take it to the next level. I usually just see if there's a download, if it's something I have to stream, because obviously with copyright laws, being in a radio station, we can't broadcast from a streaming platform. You actually need a physical copy of the track. So it needs to be, a WAV file or an MP3. There's no better feeling than actually speaking with a group of artists who have never had any traction in Australia before, and you're the first person to push play on their song in Australia. From there, it's like, well, look, you're out, you're on your own now. I've done whatever I could. Most of the time, they all stay in touch in some way, shape, or form. Others have asked, would you like to represent me? Would you like to write me a media release?
Anybody that you heard recently or you talked to that you want to mention, is one to look out for?
A lot of them are independent acts or groups. I keep going back to council, and I've been having these little conversations with the three guys from New York, and they're twins and a brother, and they all look identical. I believe they were from a farm out in New York somewhere, but now they're living in Brooklyn or somewhere there.
Okay.
And they've new music coming out, a rock sounding edge to them, but elements of pop as well. They're doing their live shows down in their bunker in their apartments. A couple of artists from here in Melbourne who I actually had the pleasure of interviewing late last year, and one was in studio, one was over the phone, and I don't know why they haven't completely exploded on the scene yet. Quite well known circles here in Australia. One of them is called Harrison Storm and the other guy is called Garrett Caddo. And they're two separate artists, but they sort of release similar sounding music, the indie sort of folk sound with little elements of pop. It's just beautiful music. It's been playing over and over and over, and he's a lovely guy, so genuine. Someone that you could just picture playing his guitar on a beach somewhere in Sydney. This whole COVID-19 thing has been thinking of other ways that I can reach people, and obviously having a deep passion for music. And I've kind of had this crazy idea of creating my own online radio station.
Okay.
So I can showcase music on there. I can jump on and do some live shows whenever I want to, all from here in my own home, in my little office studio.
Everything is online now, even more. I would be behind that.
All these elements come up, like who would you showcase? What music would you play? What genres? And obviously, 9 times out of 10, it's the new music people want to sort of hear. Be just a station that showcases new music, local artists and international artists. And I think it's something simple and organic like that is probably an idea that no one's ever had. So I'll stake some copyright on that one and have a go, I think. It's just another platform and another avenue to support artists instead of me just doing my usual radio shift once or twice a week. Obviously, I've got the website. So I've got the aussieword.com, which is where I do my online interviews and where I showcase my podcasts after I've been on air. So I pop them up on there so people can listen to them on demand. Obviously, got all my social media channels where I'm doing a lot of the interviews. Now I've got this Instagram Live, Facebook Live, and I think it's just all slowly coming together. And obviously, like you mentioned, online is where things are right now. I think that's probably where I should be. I just think it would give me a lot more control than what I have now and play what I want to play and not have to worry about other people presenting before and after me.
This is the new normal, but if things start to open up a little more, what would you want to do first? What are you looking forward to the most?
I've had a lot more time to do the things I'm a lot more passionate about. So I will look forward to playing a little bit of tennis because I think I've just sat on the couch eating too much twisties. I think I've put on about 5 or 10 kilos, which is not good. And it'd be good to get out in the air and sit at the football.
The whole idea of just finding some peace and semblance of whatever normalcy looks like. When I think about it, there have been several people who said either they knew somebody, they lost somebody. It's been really, really bad.
I really feel for the people in New York, Washington, and over in LA as well. I mean, I've got, all you guys, friends over there. So, it's impacted everyone. It's just sort of unprecedented, isn't it? Just to see,
definitely,
what's going on. You still got to keep doing the things that you enjoy doing and you love to do.
Especially at a time like this, to have music in whatever form we get it can be really a savior.
It is very true. And a lot of the artists that I've been speaking with lately have all written tracks that have been inspired by COVID-19, if that makes sense.
Yes. Awesome seeing you and getting to chat after all this time. Until next time. Peace.
Peace out. Thanks, Jillian. Chat soon.
Care. Yeah. Bye.
Say hi to everyone, okay?
Yeah, you as well. And stay safe out there.